FBI and ICE raid Minnesota Somalia judges' chambers and expose 26 corrupt officers and drug network. What started before sunrise uncovered a betrayal hiding inside the justice system. It was 5:18 a.m. in Minneapolis. A federal operation was already in motion. Unmarked vehicles rolled in without lights or sirens. FBI and ICE agents stepped out, moved quickly, and surrounded a courthouse building. This was not a raid on a cartel stash house. This was a raid on a judge's chambers. Agents entered Judge Leah Mahat's office with a warrant backed by months of secret surveillance. The door came down. The building shook. Inside, the office looked normal at first. Family photos, an American flag, legal books are neatly placed on shelves. Everything looked like a workspace of someone trusted with the law. Then the search began. Behind a false wall, agents uncovered 6 kilograms of tightly wrapped cocaine. Nearby were 7 firearms, stored carefully in foam-lined cases. And then came the moment that stunned even seasoned investigators. A hidden safe was opened. Inside was $81 million in sealed cash. And in that instant, the case crossed a line. This wasn't misconduct. This was a system. On the judge's desk sat an unlocked phone. Encrypted messages lit the screen. Routes, dates, codes, commodity labels. All of it is tied directly to the CJNG cartel shipments. Investigators later said this phone was not used out of fear or coercion. It was used with confidence. And that raised a terrifying question. How long had this been happening? As federal teams analyzed the data, the picture grew darker. Over 6 years, more than $179 million moved through 29 shell companies. These companies were registered in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Panama, and Curacao. None of them sold products. None had employees. Some did not even have phone numbers. Yet money flowed through them constantly. Every transfer traced back to the same source. Cartel drug routes. This was not street-level crime. This was a crime designed to look official. Transfers were approved after midnight. Permits were signed quietly. Cargo screenings were bypassed with special access forms. Investigators said the people involved were not outsiders forcing their way in. They were insiders opening doors. And the judge was at the center. According to investigators, Judge Leah Mahat was not blackmailed. She was not trapped. She was an architect. She used her position to protect routes, clear obstacles, and silence interference. And she did not work alone. As the investigation expanded, more names surfaced. A bank director who approved transfers within hours. A police chief who reduced patrols near key trucking routes. Local officials who signed zoning approvals without question. This was not bribery whispered in alleys. This was an administration done in offices. Then came another layer that changed how the public saw the case. Investigators uncovered evidence that the network was also moving people. More than 500 Somali nationals had entered Minnesota through channels tied to the operation. These were not families or refugees seeking safety. Many were young men with criminal histories, gang connections, and signs of past combat. 57 shootings, 91 armed robberies, 9 overdose deaths, 22 forced prostitution cases, all traced back to the same cluster of recruits. One shooting outside a supermarket in Bloomington left 2 grandparents wounded. Later, police learned the shooter carried a PCA badge issued by a care clinic that had billed Medicaid for over $1.7 million in fake services. Money meant for elderly Americans had been turned into fuel for armed crime. At this point, federal agencies knew this could not stay contained. The investigation moved from quiet analysis to open action. Operation Northern Razor was launched. In command centers, walls were covered with maps. Red dots marked warehouses, clinics, churches, apartment complexes, garages, and riverfront piers. From the outside, these places looked harmless, ordinary, familiar. But inside, a cartel economy was operating, protected by paperwork and silence. At 4:03 a.m., a single message went out across multiple agencies. Immediate attack. Black SUVs rolled through icy streets. Tactical vans are positioned behind buildings. Highway patrols blocked exits. A helicopter hovered above warehouses near the river, scattering snow into the darkness. The city woke up to movement it had never seen before. The first strike hit an abandoned trucking depot near Brooklyn Park. Outside, it looked empty, but inside, agents found drug-packing machines, cutting agents, and pallets ready for distribution. 2 men tried to run but were stopped by canine units before reaching the exit. 20 miles south, another team entered a converted church basement. As dawn broke through stained glass windows, agents found pills, vacuum sealers, and cash counters. It wasn't a place of worship. It was a handoff site used at night through coded messages. The strongest resistance came in Burnsville. 2 suspects ran from a garage across a snow-covered yard. A drone tracked one of them, and minutes later, he was on the ground, handcuffed in the freezing grass. By noon, 27 locations had been taken down. More than 240 kilograms of drugs were seized, along with cash hidden in walls, vents, and even a child's toy house. Laptops and appointment books tied the sites directly to corrupt officials. As the news spread, police tape appeared across familiar streets from Duluth to Rochester. Helicopters circled overhead. This wasn't an outside attack. It was corruption being ripped out in plain sight. When investigators reviewed the evidence, the pattern was clear. Monthly payments labeled as fees went to officials, including $32,000 sent regularly to a police captain. Emails between the judge and a bank director left no doubt. Clear the transfer, no delay. Government buildings went quiet. Some officials locked their doors. Others deleted emails or shredded documents. But it was too late. Digital trails were already secured. Analysts worked day and night reconstructing timelines. Names once printed on business cards were now red dots on investigative charts. People trusted judges. They trusted the police. They trusted officials who smiled at community events and spoke about public service. Seniors watched news footage of churches and clinics surrounded by agents and whispered that they had passed those buildings every day for years. Protests formed outside courthouses. Signs read, "If the law is criminal, what justice remains?" City councils held emergency meetings. Police unions issued statements distancing themselves from certain individuals, but the words didn't calm anyone. Inside a detention facility, Judge Layla Mahad remained silent. She did not ask for a lawyer at first. She did not ask about charges. She stared at the wall, hands folded. The same hands that once signed court orders now sat cuffed. By the end of the week, the scale of the case was undeniable. Federal prosecutors charged 137 individuals. Not all were drug traffickers. Some were charged with falsifying documents, others with unauthorized payments or illegal approvals. None of the charges was minor. The total value of seized drugs, cash, gold, and financial assets reached nearly $155 million. But the investigators said the money and drugs were only symptoms. Municipal offices felt silent as employees were suspended. A local bank closed after its director was indicted. Emergency elections were scheduled. Parents worried about bus stops that once served as secret handoffs. Elderly residents stared at bank statements, wondering how money meant for their care had been stolen. Corruption rarely crashes through the front door. It walks in quietly. It smiles. It attends meetings. It signs forms. It hides in budgets and approvals. When institutions fail, they usually fail slowly. Operation Northern Razor happened because people refused to stay silent. A nurse kept records for years because something felt wrong. A young police officer refused a gift envelope. A bank clerk printed transaction histories late at night, knowing what they revealed. In the end, Judge Mahad sat in a holding cell, head lowered, as if finally understanding the weight of what she helped build. When a reporter asked an agent if this was the end, the answer was simple: no. This is the beginning. Because justice is not a building, a robe, or a title. It is a promise. And it only survives when people choose to protect it. If you believe the truth matters, like the video and comment justice.